right, episode 81 of the Broadway Shuffle with Conrad, Zyler, and Clayton. I am Brennan, and we wanted to start our show by congratulating Clayton on getting married and getting back from his honeymoon safe. Clay, congratulations, man. Welcome back to the show. I'm sure your honeymoon was a great time. Glad you made it safely. I'm sure you did lots of honeymoon activities. You have a good time?
Thank you, man. I did do lots of honeymoon activities. It's good to be back on the pod. I know you guys miss me.
We did miss you, and our listeners miss you too, man. Well, Conrad, it's an exciting week for Texas Tech sports. First ever College World Series, Women's College World Series, taking place in OKC on Thursday. And we want to get into a little bit about this. I know it's atypical for us to get into women's softball here on the podcast, but when you make the Women's College World Series for the first time, I think it's worth talking about. And Texas Tech obviously made news with NiJaree Canady and the amount of money they put into it. So, Conrad, big deal, no big deal that Texas Tech is in the Women's College World Series, and are you going to tune in?
Yeah, so if you've been with us for any period of time, you know that predominantly we focus in on football and basketball because those are the two sports that any of us have any knowledge about, because we're not really maybe we know some track, some golf, some different things like that, but we typically focus in on football and basketball just because we have the most fun talking about that, and that seems to be what the viewers want to hear about. But lately, the College World Series softball conversation has heated up quite a bit. And so it's interesting having this conversation now, because I think at the beginning of the year, it was something that we all thought, well, we'll see how this goes. I mean, $1 million into a softball player, how does that work itself out? You know, what does that really mean? But the more the year went on, it was pretty obvious that that investment paid off. And so excited for it. I think it means a lot to the school. Anytime you can be in a College World Series in baseball or softball, or play deep into the postseason, and any sport that's good for your team and good for your athletic program and good for your university. But I will say, I'm not sure I'm going to be tuning in. I'm not necessarily a big softball guy myself, but you know, there's still time between now and Thursday, so we'll see. I don't know, Brennan, will you be tuning in to the game?
Not only will I be tuning in, I will be driving to Oklahoma City and going.
You're going?
I'm going.
Really?
Thursday. I will be in attendance at Davion or Devon, whatever. It starts with a D. It's D Park. I don't know what it is, but it's outside Oklahoma City, and I will be going to a game. So not only do I care, Conrad, I will be there.
Oh wow!
I'm cheering on our
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Do you? It's the Lady Raiders, Brennan. It's not Women Red Raiders. It's Lady Raiders. That's actually the correct
term. It's 2025, dude. I've got to be. I'm calling them whatever. You know, I need to call them. I don't know, lady, woman. They're the same thing.
Hey, that type of thing does not fly on the Broadway Shuffle.
Exactly right.
Z,
I mean, Conrad, the needle's not moving. Like, what are you watching these days on TV? Like, I mean, I turned on the television the other night. I was just like, oh, let's see what's on. And if you're not into the NHL or play, there is nothing on TV. I mean, it is just like, I was like, oh, well, I guess the Lady Raiders are on. I mean, I'll turn them on. I'll watch the softball game.
I mean, I'll do that. I mean, I don't. Well, first of all, what time do we play? Do we know that yet?
Not yet. First game's Thursday at 11:30.
6 or 7. We play the first night session game on Thursday.
There you go.
Okay. Well, that helps. Yeah. Then I will watch, because it'll be at night. I didn't know if it was going to be like at 11 a.m. or something like that on a Thursday. I probably wouldn't watch that, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, there's some good stuff on TV. I mean, if you care about golf, I mean, the Charles Schwab Challenge finished up today and was a fantastic tournament. So
that leaderboard was trash. There was nobody I cared about in that tournament.
Not even Scotty Scheffler, the felon.
Was he on the leaderboard on Sunday?
He did. He finished 4 shots back, and he didn't even try.
No, that's just not. But okay. Anyway, you know, the softball team. You know, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, it is. Yeah. I'm not gonna get up here and postulate and tell you that I've just been an avid follower of this team. But you know, when you see success in the postseason, that's something that's going to make me tune in. I watched the game against whoever they played, Florida State. The first and the second game. One thing I will say about softball, it's an incredibly easy watch. It's like a 2-hour event. It's pretty much like a basketball game. It goes by really quick, action packed, and it helps when you have like the best player in the sport. We have like the Patrick Mahomes of softball, and she's just, I mean, she pitched every single inning for both games. She pitched 14 innings, allowed 1 run. It's actually, I mean, that's kind of impressive.
Kind of.
Yeah. I think it's cool. You know, if we had to relate that to college athletics writ large, you know, I think it's neat to see that NIL, or neat, however you want to look at it. I mean, you went out there and purchased or bought, however you want to say it, the best player in the sport and decided and made the Women's College World Series because of that. Is that a good sign for maybe your football team that, hey, you can throw enough NIL money at something that, yeah, you can actually have really good postseason success? That's all it really takes. I don't know. These are obviously not the same sport. It's there's not one player that just completely changes the game on both sides of the ball in football. But I don't know. Interesting to at least think about. Good on the sellers. I mean, if you're going to pay $1 million for a player, you would hope that you at least make some sort of postseason noise. And good on John and Tracy.
Yeah, Clay, I mean, OU has had a dominant softball team the last 3 or 4 years. I think they've won 4 straight Women's College World Series, and it's big for their program. That's a big football and basketball school, and people buy in at OU to their softball team. So, I mean, this might be a 1-year rental thing with Canada, and then you aren't very good again like you were previously. But I don't know. I think there's a reason to be excited here. I mean, you have a chance to win a championship, and regardless of it's a women's or a men's sport for your university, I think that's a big deal. Hey guys, before we get back to the video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Broadway Shuffle. Thank you. Now back to the show.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, like, to your point on OU, I feel like if you get good enough at anything, then like your fan base will latch onto that, or like you'll grow the fan base for that one sport. To your point, who knows if this will be a sustained run or just this year. But I think it's cool to see the university do something that it's never done and make the Women's College World Series. I'm kind of with Conrad. I don't know like how much I'll be tuned into the actual games, but I'll definitely be like keeping up with the results. And of course, I hope they make it far, potentially win the whole thing. And I think Zyler made a really good point about like, this is a good sign, I guess, for football and basketball, because you're kind of doing the same thing in all areas. And I know we're leading the Big 12 right now in Big 12 titles. So I think that's just a good sign for your athletic program that the money and the resources that you're putting into all these programs is actually paying off, and you're getting results from that. And it's not just, empty spending or empty promises.
The one thing, and I had somebody text me about this, the one thing that is kind of frustrating about this is that you see this kind of resource investment, and, it's your money, spend it however you want. It's not going to make me mad, but, a program that would actually won a national title that seems to have just completely fallen off the wayside is the women's basketball team. I mean, it's just like, what is going on with that program right now? Just completely in the gutter. The number 1 player in the country doesn't end up choosing to attend your school. Like, there's all sorts of stuff going on there.
Lubbock.
She was from Lubbock, ends up going to Norman, Oklahoma. And that's a program that I think that the city actually would support. Lubbock and West Texas generally have really good women's basketball. Like the programs around here are really, really good. People love to support. I mean, the United Spirit Arena was built because of the women's basketball team. People forget that, and there's still people that go to those games despite them being, generally pretty horrible. Not that I'm some sort of huge Lady Raiders fan, but it would be nice to see that program get resurrected to at least some sort of, modicum of respectability instead of kind of the, bottom 4th of the Big 12 where they kind of been residing. Not that we're going to make this a women's Lady Raider conversation, but it did kind of make me think of that.
Yeah, and I don't want to, sit here and pretend like that I know any other player on the softball team other than Canada. I don't.
Yeah,
I literally don't.
I don't either.
If you're out there listening to the show, thank you, and let us know who you are. And I have not watched a single softball game outside of the games that have been on ESPN for the super regionals and the regionals and stuff. And so, but I think as you start, Clay, to your point, like as you start winning more, it does bring interest. Like, and so if the women's basketball team or if the women's track or whatever, or soccer or whatever it is, if they were competing for national championships, like I would watch that on ESPNU or on ESPN Plus or whatever it would be on.
Totally.
So I think it's exciting to have this opportunity, because I was in Houston last year with seeing my cousins, and one of my cousins played college softball, and we're watching the Texas OU Women's College World Series softball game, and I was like hooked. Like it was a great atmosphere. It was fun to watch, and it was a good park, and I was like, man, this is enjoyable. And I grew up going to her college softball games and kind of seeing it. So it was interesting. And I think for your school to have a platform that, like, it was a big deal. A lot of people tuned in to watch. I think it'd be good for university. And it does help to have the phenom and to have arguably the best player in the country on your roster, which is, like the sole reason we are there, who made NIL headlines. So Conrad, I don't know, like, I know you might not tune in, and I'm only going because I've got nothing better to do on a Thursday, and I've got some stuff in Oklahoma to attend to anyway. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to the environment out there. I hope a lot of Red Raider fans come out to OKC to support.
Conrad, do you know who was watching the game? Pat Mahomes.
Who was watching the game?
Pat Mahomes was watching.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
did you
saw
see
that.
that he was
better than
filming
Pat?
a commercial?
Yeah.
He had his phone. He was kind of like
Yeah,
watching
he was
and while
tuned in.
filming some State Farm commercial.
Yeah, I mean, if I was filming a State Farm commercial too, I'd want to do anything rather than be there. But I don't know. I'm
You don't want to
more
hang
of a
out with
progressive
Jake?
guy
You don't-
myself.
Oh, okay.
That's who I have. So that's a shameless plug, but that's just because they were cheaper. I will say this: if we do win the College World Series, if Texas Tech does, all of us will be donning College World Series softball champion T-shirts. The episode after we do that, we will all we should all wear those for like 6 months until football season.
I will not make that
happens.
promise.
Yeah,
I'll make that promise.
I won't wear
I
a
was about to
t-shirt.
say.
Oh yeah.
You won't get a shirt if we win the national championship.
I'll
I'll
get a
be
shirt.
happy to support and talk
I'm
about
not
it.
gonna wear
I'm
it
not
for
going to
6
spend money
months.
on it. Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, you said we're going to wear it for 6 months till football season starts.
I know. I don't think that'd be a bad thing. I mean, national championships are not something we experience very often.
I have a Lady Raiders national championship shirt. So
you should wear that.
So let me
You have it?
I do wear that. It's a
Let
cool
me
shirt.
take this question: Women's College World Series national championship, or like a basketball Sweet 16?
It's not even close.
Basketball Sweet 16.
That's
I
a
wouldn't
bad
even have
question.
to think about it.
Some people
No,
in life say there are no dumb questions. That was a dumb
No,
question.
I just
Brennan.
want to put it in perspective of like even like 2 NCAA tournament wins like over a national championship in softball. It's like that. It's not even close, right?
I would, and this is going to sound so bad. I would trade. Depending on whether you could win titles in every single spring sport, and I think I would trade it for like an Elite Eight in basketball.
I totally agree.
I would trade the UConn women's basketball dynasty for one Final Four in men's.
That's like 12 national titles.
They won like 100 and something games in a row. I looked this up the other day. It's like 120 something. Like it was like 4 seasons before they lost a game.
That is actually absurd. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Clay, you're such a misogynist, dude.
we
Come
support all sports here on the Broadway Shuffle. Just to be clear for our listeners, if anyone, I don't want anybody to come after us in the
not
comments.
to diminish what they're doing. I'll definitely be.
No,
rooting.
we're not. And look, and I'm talking about it like I'm pumped up for it. Like I'm excited.
You're
about it. I
going.
mean,
Yeah.
There just is a reality that like basketball and football reign supreme over anything, regardless of the.
Yeah.
I mean, like men's baseball. Like I do not care about men's baseball, and we were awful this year as well, too. But like I don't tune in to watch men's baseball unless we're in the College World Series. Like it's almost equal value to me for softball. Like I just don't care about college baseball nearly as much as I do the MLB. So it's like I don't really care to tune in, and I see we're not good. But if we were playing in the World Series in college, I would tune in. But I'm really not checking it out often.
But this is another point too, because there's a lot of Tech fan. If you're in Lubbock or you graduated from Tech, that you watch the games. I'm going to watch all 12 games this year. Or however many games, 13, 14, 15, 16 even. But there's plenty of fans that feel the same way about football and basketball. They're like, I'll tune in when we're good. I'll tune in when we're good. I'll do those sort of things. And there's people out there that exist like that. And I think that's the market that Tech, you really haven't tapped into. Basketball you have, but football, you really haven't given the fair weather fan much reason to tune into your games.
Good point.
And that's something that I think I hope that you can capture this year is the casual Tech grad that just doesn't really follow. They're proud of their institution, they're proud of the university, but it's like, I'll watch the game if it's on. But can you really capture the heart of your casual fandom, the people that live in West Texas that kind of care about Tech? That's where I think you could really see huge ratings boosts. That's where all this offseason stuff helps. That stuff matriculates into the populace writ large. I think we all have that person. I have several people that I benchmark as the average person, and if they talk to me about something we're Tech related, I know that it's kind of like infiltrated its way into the common man's lexicon. Like, it's in their understanding. There's nobody cares about the safety that committed in high school. Nobody realizes that stuff. But when Micah Hudson commits, that's a very a prominent thing that happens.
Yeah,
that
that's
people
a
are
great
aware
point.
about.
Zyler, can you name names of the average person that you're talking about?
No. I would never do such a thing.
Okay.
But you all have those people that about. It's like they don't talk to you about Tech sports, but when they'll talk to you about certain things, and that's how it's kind of made it to that point. That's where I hope the football team really, really takes us this year, is where it just really captures. And that sounds really stupid, but it captures the hearts of a lot of the fans that haven't been captured in a while.
One thing I'd be curious to know too, on like the women's softball level, it's like we're obviously 4 men on the podcast. We mainly talk football and basketball. But like, how big a deal this is to women's sports fans, and like, does it help pump up your university on a female side as well? And do more people want to attend your school now because of that? Like, how the March Madness, it's like it increases your admission. I'd be curious to know if it's, something that on that side, like softball, volleyball, so if it's something that really pumps you up now that you've made the Women's College World Series or not. That'd be fun to find out too.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Okay, Conrad, any final thoughts on softball before we transition to football? We got our 15 minutes in.
Yeah, and I will say this. I hope none of our listeners who are listening this far think that we are experts on softball or claim to be, because we do not. But I will say we do want the Red Raiders to do well, and I want to change my tone a little bit. I will be tuning in. I will be rooting for Texas Tech to do well on anything. But at the same time, if we lose, my heart, I'm not going to be heartbroken and be like, well, okay, that's one thing. That's one thing that we can check off the list before we get to football.
We're less than 100 days out from football.
Yeah, we're less. One thing that I totally forgot to mention, I'm assuming we're releasing this Monday morning. So happy Memorial Day to all of our veterans as well that listen to the show. I completely forgot to say that at the beginning of the show. So we appreciate it. Thank you to any veterans that listen to the show, and hope you guys have a great Monday off listening to the Broadway Shuffle. Anyone else? Conrad, you got anything to say on that too? You're laughing at me for bringing. I see you smiling. I'm like, what's wrong what's wrong with wishing Happy Memorial Day to folks?
There's nothing with it. I hope you enjoy. I hope everybody enjoys their day off, and I'm smoking a brisket tomorrow, so I'm excited for that.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
no,
I want to make a meat packing comment, but
Conrad's in a giggly mood today. I don't know if softball gets Conrad going, but okay, let's get to football, Conrad. So by the way, before the episode, Conrad was talking and he was saying, do you think we could do 5 minutes of, he was like, I don't know if we could talk 5 minutes of softball. We went 15. So there you go. That was good.
It just shows we can talk about anything.
We can talk about anything, which is great.
What should we talk about on the next episode? Tell us what you want us to talk about in the comments.
I would love to have a comment-led episode.
I do want to say this is, just bad podcasting generally, announcing something this far in, but we have a really fun episode that's coming up. We're going to be interviewing a group of 3 to 4 people, which is going to be a large. It's going to be a large.
Don't say who yet. Do not say who.
I'm not going to announce it, but it's going to be really funny. We're really excited. That's all I'm really going to say. But it should be a hoot. It should be coming out sometime in early June. So be on the lookout for that.
I'm excited. Okay, so we talked a lot about as we transition into football. It's May. We've had a couple episodes on off-season content and different things, but we do want to start to focus in as we get into the summer, and as we're less than 100 days, as you mentioned, like what Texas Tech football needs to do to capitalize on this 2025 portal and all the money spent and what Cody did and all this. But I wanted to peg a question to you guys now that we've kind of seen the roster fill out, and as we're getting into the summer, like what is the biggest need for Texas Tech in 2025 for them to be successful? So you can only pick one. So I'm going to ask each of you what you think the biggest need. It could be O-line, D-line, defensive, whatever it is, position group, quarterback, coaching, special teams, and you can only pick one. Clayton, I'm going to go to you first. So the biggest need for Texas Tech to, and we'll say win the Big 12 in 2025, what do you need from who to make that happen in 2025?
I'll say I was really torn between two of them, but I'll say good O-line play, because I feel like the quarterback play is a known, even if we don't think that Barron is like the best QB in the Big 12, I feel like we would all agree that if he gets really good O-line play, like he's good enough for us to have a good offense. And I feel a lot more confident on the defensive side of the ball, even though they're both unknowns, both new coordinators, a lot of new players. I think if our O-line is just really solid and we're able to have a good run game again, I feel good about Barron's ability behind a solid O-line with the receivers that we have to put together a good offense. And then I feel pretty good about our defense going into the year. So I'll say good O-line play. Conrad, what about you?
Yeah, you stole mine, and because I don't want to bore our listeners, I won't double down on that. But I think you're totally right on it. I think looking at this list, because that one was taken, I'm not going to double down. I'd probably say health. I think you've got all this talent at really every position, and if you just stay healthy, I think things will work themselves out the way that we think they are. I mean, the worst possible thing to happen this season, I think, would not be able to see what all of this talent looks like on the field together. that would be the worst thing, because you can't even see it. Like if, let's just say, David Bailey gets hurt, and then, I don't know, John Carlos Miller gets hurt, or anyone. I mean, you could name so many names there, like the people that you think are going to be integral parts of your scheme on either side of the ball. If you don't have them at full strength, and I'm not saying people aren't going to get nicked up, that's definitely going to happen. It's football, right? But at the same time, you want to make sure that if you can have everyone healthy, I think you feel really, really good about your chances. So I'd probably say health on my end. Zyler, what about you?
Man, I can't decide. And so I want to go back to the O-line comment. What does good O-line play look like to you? Like if we had to actually metric that, or, if you look back on the season and you're looking at whatever things, what would tell you that it was good O-line play? Is that like the eye test, or is it, what are you going to exactly do?
I feel like, the eye test. I feel like it's easier to see good O-line play with the run game. Like, are the running backs having to make guys miss in the backfield, or are they able to get 2 yards up the field before they, get to a defender? I feel like it's much easier to see that aspect than it is in the passing game. But like, is Barron able to have time to get to his second, third reads? Who knows if he'd actually be doing that himself, but does he have time to get to those reads? Yeah, I feel like that's what I'm looking for.
What's the baby saying? Do they think it's O-line, D-line, or what? I can't make it out. And whose baby is that?
Sorry about that. I'm in the common space, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, that's
not
you,
my baby,
Clayton.
I really thought that was Conrad.
I was like thinking it was Conrad or Zyler or
no.
Oh, you're not in your home, Clay?
No, because I didn't move my office chair over in time, so I had nowhere to sit. So I'm in like the workspace area.
Okay.
Can you tell them that
I really thought it was Conrad.
I literally was like, but Conrad didn't look pissed enough. Like Conrad was just kind of chilling. You would have seen Conrad's face go immediately to like looking above the camera.
Yeah. I told her, I said, Daddy's recording a podcast. You have to sleep at least until 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, that's so fun. We have 3 kids total on this podcast. 2 for Z, 1 for Conrad, and I was, you wouldn't have told me I thought it was Clayton's background, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was not.
Yeah, Clay, hey, fair though, man. You're traveling back from Mexico, long honeymoon, and we get not everything's moved yet. That's fair.
Appreciate you being here tonight.
We appreciate you being on, man. It's commitment. Yeah.
This is. Well, hey, let me say one thing about the O-line. I don't know what the metric. I don't. It's been a while since I've looked into what O-line metrics are used to evaluate. Do you have a top half O-line in the conference? What does that look like? I don't know what that is. I would just want to see a top half conference, whatever, or top half in the conference, whatever that looks like. I don't know. Sure. I mean, I'd like to see. I mean, pass protection. Obviously, that's kind of a. I mean, you can take that stat, but like the average length of time that somebody has to throw. I mean, that's something I'd want to know. Sure. I mean,
pass block win rate, something like that.
Just what does that look like? Because I don't think this is a part of the quarterback conversation enough in all of college football. It's too of a complicated conversation to have for every quarterback. But if quarterbacks that are not super, electric in terms of their athleticism, quarterbacks that have top half O-lines in their conference are probably going to be much more effective than the guys that maybe have the same talent level. They just don't have a good group in front of them.
Yeah, my counterpoint would be Shedeur probably had a bottom 4 unit, and he threw 4,000 yards last year. I think a great quarterback can overcome it.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I will say Shedeur, as much as I don't care for the individual, was a fantastic college quarterback.
Yeah, he was, and that's to my point.
He was at a different level. Like he was at a different level than pretty much everybody.
And the other thing, like if we're not going to make this a Baron Morton conversation, but escapability is not high on his attributes. If you built him as a player, he's not quick. I think he does a lot of other things well, and so I think bad O-line play affects him probably more than other quarterbacks in the Big 12. I think for me, the thing that is most important, I think health is one that I probably would have taken. You just want to make sure that you see the unit, and you're gonna lose 2 guys before the year starts. That's just how it goes every single year. That's what every team deals with. There's going to be guys on the 2 deep that you drop off, and that's why you build depth. I think for me, I think the biggest thing is I think both of your coordinators need to be really, really good from the very beginning. You have had these guys get 9 months to get this system in place, and then it's go time. and a lot of these other coordinators, you look at Matt Campbell at Iowa State, John Heacock, will be his 10th year with this defensive system. These are entrenched systems. Our guys are going to have less than a year to get this brand new offensive line, brand new receiver group, pretty much brand new running back room, and injured quarterback, together. Is Leftwich capable of that? Can he do that? Can he build that? Same with Shield Wood. This is going to be a brand new scheme. Do our guys learn it quickly? Have they mastered the audibles? What is it going to look like when the bullets actually start, firing? That to me is going to be more important than almost anything. If Leftwich is bad, you're toast. I don't think you'll be able to win this conference with the 9th ranked offense. Same with Shield Wood. If you have a defense like last year, it doesn't matter how good the offense is. So I think for me, it's really just Joey needs to hit on both of those coordinator hires, and they may end up being great coordinators down the line when you get a year to install the system. But are they good enough to have it ready to roll August 30th and then build on that? That's kind of my. I guess
that's interesting. I wanted to say too, like on the O-line thing for me, Z, you said eye test. For me, it's eye test. Like, I'm just like, hey, are they protecting well? Like, do they look bigger than the defensive ends? Are people getting into the backfield easily? Like, it's maybe even like metrics aside, it's like, does Barron have time to throw? Like, are we watching a replay of Barron throw a 25-yard out route and like, the left tackle like put someone on his butt to like make sure he didn't get there? And it's like, those are the types of things I want to see happen on the offensive line, more so than just metrics. Like, man, like, that guy looks like Hunter Zambrano looks like the real deal. It just like, I just want to see that. But for me, it's going to be defensive coverage, dude. I mean, there were too many games last year where it was just blown assignments from your linebackers, from your safeties, cornerbacks as well. I mean, the ACU game obviously comes to mind, but TCU, it's like, if you don't give up 2 massive touchdowns, you probably still win that game. Like, there were just times where you could not get enough continuous stops in moments where you had a chance to win. And I think to your point on Shield Woodsy, it's imperative that the defense improves. I mean, you cannot continue to put pressure on the offense to score every time. And Texas Tech, that's been our story for a long time. And I think with the amount of talent you brought in on the defensive line front, it should be way easier to cover like that. And you did bring in some talent, like, on the like Pollock and different guys coming in. And the White Knight, it's Wisniewski. Cole. Yeah.
Brennan, I'll add something to you. This will be a random trivia question. If you had to guess how many plays of 30+ yards we gave up last year as a defense, how many do you think it was over the season?
I don't know what the average would be in terms, but I'm going to say over 20.
Yeah, I was going to say like 26.
I was going to go 30+.
88.
That's
bad.
That's like 7 a game.
What led the country? How many led the country?
I don't actually know. 17 of those plays were for 60+, and you had a 90+ yard touchdown on one occasion.
Okay,
and that's my point. It's like you cannot give up 88 30-yard plus plays. Yeah. Like that's I said 20, and I was thinking, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
So let me say this. I know that it's May and we're looking forward to last season, but based on that statistic alone, I did not know that statistic. There was no way you kept Tim DeRuyter on the staff.
Yeah.
Based on that statistic, like let's just let that alone.
Yeah.
Like that alone. Like that is a nail in the coffin right there. And again, is the coach out there making the plays? No, but someone has to take the fall, and that's. But there were people clamoring that maybe he should have stayed. Based on that side alone, I think it's the moving on and the change of the guard was totally justified
for
there.
Sure. Yep. Clay, you had the thought.
I was gonna say I wish we knew the number of that stat from like 2016 when our defense was so bad, because
I don't want to know. 200 plus
88 seems like almost hard to beat.
It seems like
yards,
88 happened just in the OU game alone in 2016.
Yeah. I mean that's a good point.
There at least 15 happened in that game. 800 yards of offense.
And before somebody fact checks me, it's from cfbdepth.com. If you want to read their recap of our defense, you can look at that.
I don't think anyone wants to do that.
And that's
somebody's going to clap back at me and say,
we trust you, dude. We trust you.
I'm trying to find like the actual source for that, and I can't find it right now. But if I do, I'm gonna link it.
Hey, ear test. That sounds right.
Your test. That's
I'll go back and watch every game by our next episode to fact check.
Dude, I mean, that's like
Clay,
7 plus 30 plus yard plays a
Thursday,
game.
Clay.
That's like 2 a quarter. That seems almost impossible.
And that's my thing. I mean, there were too many times last year on our reaction shows that I would go, what was Ben Roberts doing in coverage? Like what was and we love CJ, big fan of the show, and he played great a lot of games. But there were times it's like
made some huge plays.
Like made some huge plays, but like what is he doing? You know, what our cornerback, it just looked like there was just a lot of confusion all the time on defense, a majority of the season. And that you just can't have. And that's why it's my biggest need. If you want to win the Big 12, you can have the sexy receivers, you can have the fast young running backs, the quarterback, whatever. But if you cannot get stops, if you're giving up 30-yard plays regularly, you are not going to go 10-2 or 11-1. Just not.
No, you're exactly right.
The split in terms of money invested on the defensive side and the offensive side, what do you guys think that is from this offseason?
Well, Bailey,
if you had to guess,
I mean, I would say 60. I would say 60-40 defense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, Bailey, just your defensive line alone, Bailey, Hunter, Height.
Yeah,
I'm sure you paid the offensive lineman a good amount of money, but then you've had Wisniewski, Pollock from Mississippi State. I'm trying to think. I would feel like defense was still a huge priority in the portal.
Yeah. And then you got to take into account Mr. Hudson as well.
Yeah, they gave him a meal plan to come back,
which is crazy, man.
And who knows what happened there? But yeah, so it's interesting though, and I think all four are equally important. O-line, we talk about a lot. Health, like last year, you were beat up a ton. Z, to your point, coordinators, and Conrad made a great point on DeRuiter, and then I think defensive coverage. Like you need all four of those. Mm-hmm. And I know we're trying to put together the perfect roster and the perfect team in May, but it's still, a huge deal to make sure that's ready to go. And your expectations are just higher this year. I think it's going to be huge that all four of those hit in 2025.
And thinking about the coordinators as well, I think it's pretty obvious that both Coach Leftwich and Coach Wood are good football coaches. I don't think that's disputed at this point. I think what they did, what Coach Leftwich did at Texas State is impressive. What Coach Wood did at Houston and at Tulane and his other stops is definitely impressive. But the question is, how quickly does it fit here at Texas Tech? Like, does it fit with these guys? Does it fit right now? Because I have no doubt that they'll be here, hopefully for, 4 or 5 years. And move on to something else, hopefully head coaching positions. But at the same time, you just have to figure out, okay, how do these guys fit here right now? And that's why they're getting paid the way they are, is to make all this click. But I think like what you guys said, if our offense does not click, if you have the 9th ranked offense in the conference, you're not going to do anything. And a lot of that does center on the offensive coordinator, but at the same time, I think everything on the offensive side of the ball flows through the offensive line, which is again why it would have been my pick before Clayton stole it from me. But I think the offensive line does matter tremendously, because you won't be able to run or throw if that unit does not gel together quickly and gel together really, really well.
Yeah, it's one thing too that I was thinking before we transition out here is like any other first year coordinators, you would give them like kind of like the head coach, like, oh, first year, they're meshing. It's, no big deal. You don't have that excuse in 2025 for Tech. There's been too much money, too much expectation, too much hype for them to get a buffer year or a grace period. It's like, you better get your boys producing ASAP. And we mean ASAP. Look at our last 2 first games, Wyoming and ACU. And look how you came out. And it's like, you better show us day 1, game 1. You're not messing around this year. Like,
what would you be happy with? The margin of victory.
To me, it's not even margin. You could win 42-25, and I'd be like, doesn't look good on paper, but like, did it look good? Did it look different? Like, did it look efficient? I don't need us to win by 50 to like be satisfied. I just want to see.
If we're winning by that margin against Arkansas Pine Bluff,
we're going to be panicking.
You're not going to be satisfied. You will not be satisfied. I guess it's Arkansas Pine Bluff.
What if you're up 35-0 at halftime and you put in the benchers?
That's what I'm saying.
I want to win by 60.
You want to step on.
That would be fine with me.
Yeah, you want to get them out.
Dude, we have to make
get out of those 2 games, win by 30, 40 plus, and nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, like I think I just want to see like a smoothness. Like, we watch too many games. It's like, too many penalties, or like that was a bad throw. Like, or like this. Yeah. There's some nerves here on Barron's arm. I just want to see it all look pretty. I don't care if you win by 50. Just make it look pretty and be effective.
And look
play
cohesive.
smart.
Look like you're not a team that was all put together in the spring transfer portal window, in the winter portal window. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Does everybody? Does it look like we know the play calls? Does it look like our line knows what the play is?
And if those things are true, if we know the play calls, the line knows what they're doing, the timing's done against that level of competition, you should win by 50 plus, even with your backups. Like that's what should happen.
I wonder what the current line is. I'll get the line for you right now.
Clay. So you think it's like panic mode if you only win by 20? Dude, we're talking. We've got an episode to do this in like August 28th. But like, well, I guess you can go and say like, when should we start panicking?
I think 21 is like the borderline, and if the scenario that Zyler laid out is what happens, then I'm totally fine with that. But like, if you're in a game where it's just like a 10-point game the whole time, and then you win by 17, or it's like even a 2-touchdown game, I feel like that would be reason for concern, even if it looks good and it's just like a few mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, of course, if you're up big at halftime and then you kind of coast and they backdoor, that's fine with me. But if it's like a 2-touchdown game throughout the game, that would be concerning.
Yeah.
You were a 31-point favorite over Abilene Christian. I think Arkansas Pine Bluff will probably be considerably worse. You're probably going to be somewhere in the 40-point range favorite against Arkansas.
So like cover. Like I'd be happy if you covered at, I don't know, 52-10. I'd be very happy.
I'd be extremely
maybe it's the trauma of the past two opening games, but man, you cannot like you just, this one has to be different. Like this one has to be like, if you really want people to take you seriously, like I know that's a high stakes day one, game one, but if you want people to take you seriously, you need to win by 45, 50 points. Like you just really do. Because like if you win 42-30, like,
oh, dude,
could you imagine that? Could you imagine that?
We won't even have to record August 28th. We can just clip these last 10 minutes and post it on for our episode. We're getting way too far ahead, but I totally get it, man. I totally
dread watching that ACU game live in person when we didn't convert the 2-point, like it just sitting there being like, we're about to lose Abilene Christian, and I'm gonna have to watch it live. It was one of the worst things I've ever felt in my life. I'm not kidding.
Can you imagine if with this year's team, if we started with either the way we did versus ACU or Wyoming, like either of those scenarios, if that was this year's team?
Dude, if Oregon State comes in and like beats you to a pulp, it is going to be just absolute chaos.
Dude, if
that happens, season ticket refunds should be offered. If that happens,
we talk a lot about like okay, so I saw Mission Impossible last night, and they're like, one choice could define eternity, or so it's like they're starting to save, Tom Cruise is saving the world off an airplane. Yeah. Super cool, by the way. You guys have got to go see if you haven't seen it. It's wild. But you think back, like, what would have the world been like had you lost to ACU? Like, it feels like a seismic shift would have changed and taken place had Texas Tech lost. Like, one moment could define X amount of years. That game almost felt like that. Like this would be the most embarrassing loss for your program in decades. Maybe
since
ever.
The beginning of time.
Yeah, like it felt like that would have been a world-changing event for your school and program.
Like looking forward from that event, like with everything we know about the transfer portal, there's no way that the boosters would have been okay spending that much money after Joey had just gone 6-6 with like 2 out of conference non-Power 5 losses.
Yeah, and there's no way that would happen. Next week you got killed by Washington State.
Yeah,
it was dark times.
I mean, episode 3. I know we didn't have many listeners in, but I think our 3rd episode ever was like, "Is the sky falling on Texas Tech football?" And it's like crazy that was 70 plus episodes again. We had like. Go listen to it now that we've got people. If you're subscribed, go listen because it was hilarious. I remember being like, "Man, this is not good. This is bad."
And you've had some close calls on the football side against FCS or like bad teams. Like you had that game against UTEP a while back.
Houston Christian.
Yeah, the Houston Baptist game, the SFA game, even the Tarleton game. Or what was it? Was it Tarleton? Who was the team that you kind of like pitsied around with like 2 or 3 years ago? Maybe that's Houston Baptist.
I thought that was Houston Baptist. But
I thought that was Stephen. Yeah, Stephen F. Austin and Houston Baptist both, I think.
Yeah.
The fact that we are like having to have this conversation about these types of teams keeping up with us is just not good.
Real close.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll leave it at that. Let's leave it at that for now. Let's revisit the what if. I know we've got a lot of episodes coming up in July and August about scenarios for the season and worst case, best case type stuff. So we'll save it then. Before we get to trivia, I know we haven't discussed this, but I'm going to put us on the spot because I think it'll be fun. Tommy Tubervilles of the week. We have not. It's been too long. We got to do them. And so think as quickly as you can about who your Tommies are. If this is your first time listening to the show, this is frauds around sports, media, entertainment that we think are undeserving of praise in the world from the past week. So, Clayton, anything that you've seen in the last week, any frauds you'd like to call out, any Tommies?
I'll be pretty quick with mine. My Tommy Tuberville of the week is my bank account after paying for that honeymoon.
That's really easy.
Yeah, man. I mean, hey, 5-star resorts in Mexico, they can get pretty pricey. Yeah,
they can.
Yeah.
This is a great one. Except this one may get people riled up. My Tommy Tuberville of the week is Ted Cruz for allegedly being responsible for pausing the Presidential Commission on College Sports with Cody Campbell and Nick Saban.
That's a good one.
You know, Cruz's politics notwithstanding, he just really wants to pass his Senate bill, and I'm just like, dude, I don't believe in your ability to get something done in this arena. So my Tommy Tuberville of the week is Ted Cruz.
Yeah, and Zia, that's a good one. I said this on the last podcast when we talked about the commission bill. Like anything that gets into Congress or the Senate or politics, whenever you merge that and a bill needs to be passed, it's like, get me out of here. It's not going to happen. The moment it gets into Congress, I'm like, this isn't going to happen.
It could have been the SEC or the Big Ten. You know, the story that came out, I think it was Ross Dellinger, I think he's the one that had the article where it's like the SEC and the Big Ten were concerned that the commission may impact, quote unquote, what the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to build. It's like, what do you mean you're trying to, like, what are you trying to build? That's what everybody's wondering. Like
a monopoly.
We know where this is all going. You know, everybody's wondering, like, what are you going to do? It's just so frustrating. They're going to.
And I saw a quote from that article that talked about Cody Campbell specifically, and they said they were nervous that Cody was trying to help pump up Texas Tech specifically, and also other Group of 5 schools, like Group of 5, like UTEPs. Like
God forbid we save the conference with Rutgers, Northwestern, and Minnesota. Like, I'm so sorry that we're going to question whether those teams should be in the 30-team Super League. You know, that's
Great point. All right, Conrad, anyone on this, who you got on the spot? Tell me.
This is a long-standing Tommy Tuberville of the week for me, and you know, this is low-hanging fruit. It's Mr. Shadur Sanders.
It was just too easy to give it to Alan Bowman again.
He's gonna do Shadur Sanders every day until football season.
No, Alan has passed on into bigger and better things. I don't know where Alan's working now. I wish him the best, but Shadur, man, nobody wanted you, man. I don't know why. Maybe some of our listeners can tell us why in the comments, but Shadur Sanders, you are my Tommy Tuberville of the week this week, and you will be for a very long time. Go prove me wrong, and then maybe I'll change my mind. But right now, you are my Tommy Tuberville of this week, next week, the week after that, and the week after that, until you do something different.
What I think is funny is I thought that Conrad was going to have another reason to pick him, but he just picked him. He just was like,
I want
you're
Shadur
still
to be the
there.
Cowboys starting quarterback so badly. Like, I would give anything to watch Conrad have to cheer for Shadur. That's what I want.
Dude. It would be.
That's what
really
Cody Campbell needs to work on. That's what the college sports
get
commission
Shadur to the
They
Cowboys.
need a commission for that.
Yeah, get Shadur to the Cowboys.
Okay,
Dude, honestly,
mine
Go
might
ahead.
age poorly because there's still time in this series, but dude, mine's the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. Like the whole world was pumped up about the Knicks making the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you're not an NBA fan, or if you don't know where Madison Square Garden is, it's the most famous arena in the world in New York City, and the Knicks were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they were hosting the first 2 games, and they lost both to the Indiana Pacers. And you've got every star and their mother in the crowd, you know, front court seat celebrities, everything, and it's like the whole media wants this team to make it to the NBA Finals. I think they're probably actually going to maybe win tonight. So like this series is far from over, but I just thought that the excitement of what it represented and like the complete dud of losing twice at home, just a little embarrassing. So you're my Tommy Tuberville this week. Maybe you won't be next week and you'll redeem, but it's the New York Knicks and Madison Square Garden specifically for not being able to get a win at home. So There
That's a good
you go. There's the Tommies. Good. Interesting. You got bank accounts this week and Shador and Congress
politicians
and the NBA. You never know what you're getting on the Tommy Tubervilles. Okay, well, Z, close us out, man, with our tech trivia of the week.
Yeah, I was thinking about this and actually found a really neat website that finds all this information for you. It's been a long time since you've finished the season in an AP poll in the top 25 for football. But I was thinking about, when was the last time that you had a team with a lot of expectations that actually was ranked in the preseason top 25? Did a little search, actually found the answer. Do you guys know what the last season was for Texas Tech football to be ranked in the top 25 in the preseason AP poll?
Preseason. You know, I kind of want to say after coming off the 2013 holiday win with Webb and Cliff, I feel like there might have been a lot of excitement. I could see 2014 being, maybe you were ranked in the top 20, like in the 24th or 25th range.
That's a really good guess.
My guess.
That was my guess.
You definitely got votes there. It's definitely a good guess.
But you didn't. You weren't there.
No. I'm not going to confirm or deny, but I'm just saying that's a good guess. You have plenty of years where you didn't receive votes. For example, 2015. But yeah, 2014. It's a decent guess. Anybody want to move off of that, or y'all want to go 2014?
I'm
2014.
Okay. You were close. It was not 2014. You did receive votes, but you were not actually ranked. 2008 was actually the last time that you were ranked in the preseason to start the year. And
That's
that was
crazy.
You started out 12th, and you actually finished 12th. So last time you finished a year ranked in the top 25 was 2009. Been almost 15 years.
Dude, we get all excited about what has to go right. We're optimistic, and then we think, oh man, what about Wyoming ACU? We can't do that again, and then we just hit rock bottom, and we think we haven't.
Dude, it's so interesting.
It's tough.
We can get into this. I was sitting in the sauna with a guy, and there were other people in the sauna, just so we're clear. But I was and he went to Oklahoma State, and I had a tech hat on, and we're talking, and he's like, man, you guys just wish you were us sometimes, don't you? And I was like, honestly, bro, yes. Like, if you just gave us top 20 other than last year, like, I would gladly take the run you guys have had and at least competing with OU in Texas. It's like we weren't even, I was like, man, we're not even trying to, now we're trying to win Big 12 titles because of what we've paid. But it was funny talking with him, and he's our age. He's like 28 years old. And, he was just like, it's sad seeing Tech sometimes because, like, you almost feel, he was like, sometimes I feel like I wanted to root for him, but you guys always just seem to not get to the next level. And I'm like, brother, tell me about it. It's like, I know. It was just sad. But yes, it was multiple people in the sauna, not just me and Tyler.
It's funny. I mean, Oklahoma State, it's just so interesting. They've been in the preseason poll, I guess, 5 times since 2008. Oh, no. Forgive me. They had a really nice run in 11, 12, 13. But yeah, super frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, well, hey, great to be all 4 together again. I missed you guys.
It was fun.
Nice to have the home team back together. We've got hopefully less travel now. I know I was out of the state for about a month, and Clayton got married, and we're all doing these things. So good to be back. We will now plan on being back every Monday and Thursday again, regular schedule programming. And we've got a lot of off-season content to get into for you guys. We're going to start breaking down position groups, schedule, opponents, different things leading in. Zyler has got his summer series coming out with different reporters and beat writers from other schools that you can be expecting on the weekends. And don't forget to follow us on our social media channels as well. We're going to be posting a lot of short clips and different things coming up as well. So be excited for all of that. Thank you so much for tuning into the Broadway Shuffle. We can't wait to continue to grow as we head into the 2025 football season. And good luck to the Lady Raiders this Thursday. We'll look forward to seeing you in Oklahoma City. So for Clayton, Conrad, and Zyler, I'm Brennan, and we'll catch you guys next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.